A transport destroys 2 houses in Beardmore. Bittigon First Nation gets millions from Ottawa. And the Nordic Ski Nationals wrap up in Lappy. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Riley McManus. The winter storm that's been slamming our region over the past couple of days has led to numerous highway closures, including one fatal crash just west of Ignace. Dryden OPP say a snowplow operator died after his vehicle collided with a tractor trailer on Highway 17 at around 1 o'clock this morning. The victim was a 75-year-old Ignace resident. The highway was closed for most of the day while OPP investigated the cause. Meanwhile, another transport crashed into a pair of houses in Beardmore early this morning. Greenstone OPP say fortunately there were no injuries reported to the people within the residences. However, the 2 occupants of the transport were taken to the Nipissing Hospital with undetermined injuries. The accident happened at around 1 a.m. along Highway 11 in Beardmore, which is at a 50K zone. OPP continued to investigate and there's no word yet on what charges could be laid against the driver. There was also a transport crash on Highway 102 on the outskirts of Thunder Bay. No other vehicles were involved and no injuries were reported. According to Ontario's 511, Highways 11 and 17 along the North Shore were both closed for much of the day due to poor road conditions and disabled vehicles. Just when it seemed like we'd seen the worst of winter, a heavy storm sent Thunder Bay residents out in full force today with shovels and snowblowers. Canada Post was also forced to cancel all local mail deliveries. And while this weather is usually met with groans from city residents, at least a few shovelers today were looking on the bright side. Vasilios Bellos reports.
It's the sound everyone in Thunder Bay was hoping we wouldn't have to hear again until next winter. Unfortunately, Mother Nature had other plans. The city was hit with one of its worst snowfalls in months after what's been a relatively mild winter. A winter storm warning was issued for many areas of the Northwest, with up to 30 centimeters expected by Saturday night in the city. Crews were out during the day clearing roads and parking lots, but there were still slippery conditions for drivers and pedestrians, though not everyone in Thunder Bay was disappointed by the weather. That includes Frank Costa, who, despite looking visibly chilled, knows the weather means more time with some of his favorite activities.
Like I was telling some people this morning, I'd rather blow snow than cut grass. I don't know why that is, but it just seems more fun to me. A few more snowmobile rides, a little more ice fishing before the boats go in the water. I could manage that, I think.
While many were hopeful we'd seen the worst of winter, Joanne Harney knew better. And much like Costa, she's not complaining.
You know, we always expect spring to come, but we always know we're going to get a snowfall between now and May. So I love it. I love being outside and shoveling and getting fresh air and exercise. As long as you're careful, don't hurt your back. But yeah, no, I love it. I love just playing outside in the snow.
Now, unfortunately, you will probably have to keep those shovels handy this weekend, so we're expecting even more snow tomorrow. But here's hoping this is our last bad snowfall of the year, and you can throw those shovels away, at least until next winter. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
A Thunder Bay man faces multiple charges after crashing a stolen vehicle into a marked police cruiser while under the influence of drugs. City police say it happened on Arthur Street yesterday morning when a vehicle collided with their cruiser headed in the same direction. The officers stopped the vehicle and found that it had been reported stolen. They also observed several signs of drug impairment in the driver. The 33-year-old driver was arrested and appeared in bail court this morning. A member of Thunder Bay City Council is asking for a report that would compile a list of city-owned lands that could be sold for the purpose of development. It's being requested by at-large councillor Casey Atraney, who believes this could increase the tax base and create affordable housing. The request mentions parking lots, vacant land, and parkland that could benefit the city to declare surplus and sell. Council will decide on Monday whether a list of possible development sites is something they're interested in. Atraney says she recognizes how important parklands are to the community and believes any future development should be based on how often specific ones are utilized.
So I don't want to get rid of green space. I appreciate green space and our park lands, but we have parkettes. We have lots of different pieces of green space inside our community that we may be able to look at, if not the whole green space, part of the green space, we may be able to look at property development.
If the request is approved as it is, administration would bring a report back by September at the latest. It was a big day for Biktagan-Nishnawbeg, also known as Pick River First Nation. The community signed a community benefits agreement with the planned generation palladium mine, located 9 kilometers away from the edge of their territory. And Minister Patty Hajdu also confirmed a major funding announcement. The community is getting $62 million from Ottawa. $4 million of that is for a new cultural center, while the majority of the money is for construction of a new water intake and water treatment plant.
We will be moving forward with the funding of a new raw water intake and a plant for Bitagong. It's about a $58 million project. It'll be the stability that the community needs for the years to come.
The announcements were made in a virtual gathering which included a traditional First Nation ceremony. Officials from Generation Mining have been working with the First Nation on a community benefits agreement that will see Biktagan companies receive revenue from the future mining operation. Chief Duncan Michano stresses that diversifying sources of funding is an important part of ensuring the community retains their independence from external entities.
The CBA basically will provide us with some of that money. It's not end all, but it will provide us with a substantial amount to help us move towards those objectives and those goals that we want to do in the long run.
The mine could see some preliminary work done this year. Construction on the water treatment facility is already underway, and the project is expected to be completed by the end of 2024. The election for a new chief and council in Fort William First Nation is now moving ahead, after a procedural error led to the resignation of the electoral officer and a full restart of the nomination process. Mitch Ringos has the details.
The problem stemmed from a nomination meeting where an elector nominated more than one candidate for the position of chief. The issue was not raised until shortly before the deadline for nominees to submit paperwork to become a certified candidate. Fort William CEO Michael Peltier Jr. says the next steps forward are now set in stone, saying a full restart is the best course of action, especially with the electoral officer resigning after the error.
If we were to continue the election under the old, nomination meeting, one of those people that were elected for chief would have been voided out. So, I don't think that would have been a fair process for that person.
This is the First Nation's first full election since 2019, and campaign signs will start popping up again next month. Peltier says the new officer that has been chosen for the election is a great fit, as she was previously the electoral officer for their by-election 2 years ago for a new councillor.
Our new electoral officer has experience with us in the past, as I've stated, and those elections did go well. So, just banking on that, fairly confident that we'll get through this.
Peltier says the delay does cause some problems, as they have been without a chief since September after former Chief Peter Collins stepped down to work in the energy industry. He says this has limited their outreach, as Fort William First Nation has been without a strong voice as leader.
Without that leader position there, it's very difficult for us to put forward a representative on that political table at higher levels with the ministries and different ministers. So it's been difficult to say that, yeah.
The date for the new election is May 27th, with a new nomination date of April 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
Thunder Bay's newest retail outlet opened its doors for the first time today. Sleep Country is located in the Thunder Centre, in the space formerly occupied by Pier 1 Imports. The Canadian mattress retailer has been around since the mid-1990s, but this is their first location in northwestern Ontario and the 290th store nationwide. Besides mattresses, the retailer also specializes in all sleep essentials that go with it. The opening day saw fewer people come in than expected due to the snowstorm, but regional sales manager Kathy Hyam says everyone who did was excited about what they offer. She says Sleep Country is also hoping to make a positive impact in the community by partnering with Faye Peterson's Women's Shelter in Thunder Bay.
Even our recycled beds are donated to charities within the location, within the cities. And, if they're not donated to charities, they're actually fully recycled. So we're really proud of that. That's an initiative that Sleep Country's had for 28 years.
And today is World Sleep Day, which Hyam says will be celebrated with tax-free purchases all weekend. Store officials are still waiting for the big Sleep Country sign to be installed on the building. It's expected to be delivered next week. Ontario Lottery and Gaming has announced some big lotto winners in this region. The two prize-winning tickets were each worth $250,000. Joanna Silvestri and her 4 children have been playing the lottery as a group for the past 5 years. They recently hit it big playing Instant Crossword Deluxe, taking the top prize of $250,000. Silvestri says she and her daughter were both screaming when they rescanned the ticket together. Meanwhile, Long Lac resident Jane Nikoshi also won $250,000, but she was playing Daily Keno 10 Pick. The retired great-grandmother says she uses the same numbers every draw and was shocked and amazed to find she matched all 10 numbers in the January 13th draw. This was the final day of the 2023 Nordic Canada Ski Nationals at Lappy Ski Centre, which saw over 500 of the best skiers in the country competing for national titles. Those athletes spanned across over 10 male and female age categories. They competed in a wide variety of events throughout the week, starting with the 10-kilometer time trials last weekend and finishing with the 20K long-distance events. Co-chair Chris Cerritor says the Nationals had a positive impact on the community, and he hopes the success of the event will pave the way for Thunder Bay to host similar major events in the near future.
I think this week has gone exceptional. Like, we've had a really good team to pull everything together. Lots of prep that went in. So, I mean, everything went off with a hitch. And here on site, we have a team of close to 300 volunteers that's been out for the week. So, it definitely puts a big boost in the community. And you can certainly even see it right here with the action that's going on behind with the cafe that's hopping, and everybody's enjoying the atmosphere out here.
And we'll have the results of today's final races a little later on in the news hour. Well, Fiona, as we just saw there, the snow is coming down very hard today.
Well, it's been consistent,
Yes,
that's for
that's a good
sure.
word.
And how hard it felt depended on where you were in the city. Now, I can definitely say on the south side this morning, temperature-wise, wasn't too bad. So as I was out with my neighbors shoveling at the crack of dawn, it wasn't too bad, but the snowfall, very mild, or very dry, very grainy snow, but underneath it there was a lot of ice and a lot of slush from so many mild days beforehand. So it was kind of a mixed conditions out there. Here in the city of Thunder Bay, we started out with our high for the day of -5. That was in the middle of the night, and a wind chill of -11. Temperatures dropped steadily till about 9 a.m. this morning. That's when we hit our low of -13 and a wind chill of -22. Rest of the afternoon, it was fluctuating between -11 and -12 most of the day, and that's with winds from the northwest, 13 to 40 kilometers per hour. Now, similar winds to the west into Fort Frances. They've had light snow currently at -10, but with those gusty winds, it feels closer to -19. Similar absolute temperatures as you head up into Kenora at -11, Dryden at -12, as is Red Lake and Sioux Lookout. There, the winds are continuing to blow about 40 kilometers per hour. It's not really snowing down so much as sideways. Right now, it's a lot of blowing snow in the region. As we head eastward and even up into Big Trout Lake, all at -12 at this hour, as is Greenstone. But this part of the region, as you head more north and to the east, it's very heavy snow. And winds are currently gusting about 65 kilometers per hour. That means that minus 12 actually feels closer to minus 25 at this hour. Now, similar absolute temperatures into Marathon and Nipigon. Down into Sault Ste. Marie, they started with rain. That's because they started out at 1 Celsius, but like everywhere else, temperatures have been dropping throughout the day. So minus 5 actually feels like minus 14 under this light snow, and that's because right now winds are gusting 70 kilometers per hour on the eastern shores of the lake. Here in the city of Thunder Bay, we are going to drop down just a few degrees from where we are right now, down to minus 14, and winds will continue to gust up to 50 kilometers per hour from the north. That means it's going to feel like minus 22. And that means those 5 centimeters of snow will also be blowing snow throughout the night. As we head into Saturday, here's the good news. The system should be out of Thunder Bay's range, but still could be felt in other parts of the Great Lakes for Saturday, but it's going to stay pretty cool for Saturday. We'll have to wait a few more days to warm up. I'll have more details on when that will happen later on in the news hour.
Thank you so much, Fiona. Well, today is outgoing RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucky's last day, and an interim has been announced. Michael Duham will have all those details for you as your Friday News Hour continues.
Women and men who serve in police forces across this country deserve the very best support, resources, governance, and tools to do their jobs.